room, which gives a whole new meaning to their brochures that say, come in and take a look. You'll like what you see. But anyhow, on to gossip, gossip, gossip. And I am very excited because today we have the exclusive celebrity dish from the man who hosts the #1 national top 40 radio show in this country. And he'll be announcing the first annual Rick Dees Celebrity Bonehead Award that will be given to stars who have done the dumbest things in 1992. Here is the wonderful bonehead that they will be receiving in the mail. May I please now welcome radio and TV personality Rick Dees. Hello, Rick.
Thank you, Joan. Hello, how are you? You look great today.
Now, first of all, what exactly are the Bonehead Awards besides very ugly statuettes?
Well, hold on. I know, wait a minute. My son and I made this. Don't you talk about my Bonehead Award that way. He's coming get you.
What are these all about?
Okay, first of all, they're for the stupidest things done all week, or in this case, probably all year.
Right.
So, some of the stupidest, most bonehead mistakes, and they can't go unnoticed. I'm sorry.
Okay, and shall we start now with, let's go for the Star Stocking Stuffer Award.
Okay, well, first of all, there's a lot of competition in this category. It has to go to Mick Jagger. I mean, Mick Jagger, I don't know if you know this, Joan, but he is giving 3 cases of Madonna's book, Sex, to his friends as Christmas presents and stocking stuffers. And can you imagine?
Okay. Television Bonehead Award.
Okay, television, I'm going to go with, actually, this goes to a television hairstylist, Umberto, for saying to Delta Burke, you'd look great as a blonde. Try it. Got to give it a shot. And so, Umberto, I'm sorry, you're going to get the bonehead this year.
He gets the bonehead. Okay. Celebrity Catfight Award.
Well, actually, just a few days ago, Brian Austin Green and Shannon Doherty are in a place called the Roxbury. It's a nightclub in Hollywood, and they went in there, and Brian Austin Green steps on a guy's feet, and Shannon gets in the fight. I can't figure that out. And she's arrested, and charges are filed and dismissed and filed and everything. So I got a bonehead Shannon for that. I'm sorry. Yeah,
all right. Well, that's the way it goes. Now, I understand you've added the Spike Rivers, my dog, Spike Rivers Award.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we agonized over this, Joan, because I know you and Spike have such a special relationship.
Yes, yes.
But anyway, the government gets involved with this, too. They spent $480,000 this year to study the effects of cigarette smoking on dogs. Can you imagine? The government literally has spent $480,000.
And what do they discover?
Well, they discovered that actually dogs like cigars better. And in Spike's case, I mean, I don't know, I think he likes pipes better, actually.
So this is the Spike River. Oh, there's Spike.
Think about Spike. I got to point this out, too, about Spike. I mean, I was a little disappointed. I asked him to help in a benefit for dogs last week, and he wouldn't even lift a leg to help me. And it really... You know,
Spike. Now, what else we got? Overexposed Rock Star Award.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard this or not, but Rod Stewart is at a place called the Monkey Bar. And people notice Rod, and people notice him all the time. And what does he do? He gets up, and to make sure that he's noticed, he takes his pants, unbuckles the buckle, and they fall in a little pants puddle around his ankles. And he goes walking around the restaurant with his pants in a little puddle around his ankles. Guaranteed bonehead for that.
Guaranteed. I like these. Will you stay around? I know you will, and come back at the end of the show. And
I got some more. You're going to love the rest of them.
Okay, I look forward to seeing you at the end of the show with the Bonehead Awards.
Be right here.
And meanwhile, we'll be right back with people who survived dating disasters. I dated him. See you in a minute.
I was on the date from hell.
I was on a nightmare date with the biggest geek in the world. I met this guy through a friend, introduced me, decided to go out on a date. She set me up. And have you ever seen the movie Revenge of the Nerds? Because this guy was Revenge of the Nerds, basically. Pens, the calculator, the glasses, the tape. Nice guy, but when he talks, he
hell. We've all had a bad date or two. I remember once coming down the stairs in college, and there was a blind date waiting for me on the bottom, and as I reached the bottom, he said to his friend, "Why didn't you tell me?" Right? Not so good. But anyhow, my guests today have had real dating disasters as well as me. I think we all have. One woman was almost thrown in jail. 2 people wound up in the hospital. Several literally were vomited on. I mean, it's just... One man was even sued because a girl claimed he was no fun on their date. Anyhow, we are going to meet a woman who wrote this book, which I was laughing at all last night. It's called Dates from Hell. It's a great thing to give friends who are feeling just lousy about their social life. Please welcome Katherine Samon. How nice to have you on. Now, I see a ring on your finger, so obviously you got through your hell dates.
Yeah, I had my share.
And got married.
Had my share and then got married.
And why did you write the book?
When I was on staff at Glamour magazine, I heard a lot of dating horror stories, and I was single at the time, so I had my own to pitch in. And later, Mademoiselle magazine asked me to write a Dates from Hell article, and I did, and it received a huge response, and I think it did because Dates from Hell are universal. We've all been on them.
Everybody?
Yeah.
How many people did you interview?
I talked to over 300 people, and then I sifted it down to about the 96 worst stories I had ever heard.
What are some of the most bizarre things?
First dates are often bizarre because everybody's so uncomfortable on the date, and then something unexpected can happen. And my favorite first date is a woman is told that her blind date is handsome and charming and sensitive and funny and the wealthiest man she'll ever meet. And she thinks he can't possibly be any of those things, but they go out and he is. And she's falling in love until her entree is served. And he says, "Oh, you love that? My mother loves that. You look like my mother. She looks like you." On and on about his mother until she's disgusted. She would just like to end this date. And so he's driving her home, and she says, "Aren't we going the wrong way?" And he says, "Yes, I'm taking you to meet my mother. There's no time like the present." But it's midnight. So they pull up in front of the family country estate, and she's trying to think, what do I say to somebody's mother at midnight? And they're walking up the sidewalk, and he says, "Oh, Mother, there you are. Meet Patty. Patty, meet my mother." And Patty looks over, and he's talking to a tombstone.
That's
a
bizarre.
bad first date.
That's psycho time. Oh, my God. All right. What about the girl? That made me laugh out loud. The girl that went to meet the boy's parents in a different state.
Yeah.
Oh, listen to this. A nightmare story. Go ahead.
Steve says, "Debbie, before we can get married, you've got to meet my family." So they go to his parents' house for Sunday lunch, and there are the same 20 relatives who are there every Sunday. And Debbie has a little too much wine to drink and needs to find a restroom and is lost and can't find one, but does find a powder room that just has a sink and a mirror, and she decides it's an emergency. She needs to improvise. So she hops onto the sink and thinks, "Oh, I saved myself," except the sink falls out of the wall and tosses her against the far wall and knocks her unconscious. And then water starts spewing out of the wall. So time is going by, and Steve can't find her. And he and his father decide she's got to be behind this room where water's coming out from under the door. So they break down the door. Now all of the relatives are standing in the doorway, and they pull the door off of her. And there's Debbie on her back with her skirt over her head and her underwear down by her ankles. And so 6 months later, fully recovered from her concussion, Debbie can't believe that Steve wants her to go back and try it again. So she goes back, and it's awkward at first, but then things settle down, and she's really proud of herself. Except midway through lunch, his father returns from a business trip, and she knows she has to get to her feet to shake his hands, but she's embarrassed because he had to take her to the hospital. So she gets to her feet to shake his hand. Just as their hands meet, she hears a strange crunching sound. And she looks down, and Steve's mother had a little Yorkshire Terrier who the mother said was the best child she'd ever had, and Debbie had stepped right on its neck.
And killed it. Killed it.
It's horrible.
Did they ever get together again?
No. She called her myself a taxi and went home.
Lastly, before we get to the other two, because the two people here ready to tell us bad date stories, what does somebody do with the holidays coming up? How do you find a date for the holidays? What do you do? There are a lot of single women and girls and people out there.
I think if you're going to a work-related function or to a function like Debbie was going to that's full of family, don't take a first date. Don't go on a blind date, because you don't want to be remembered as the person who was on their date from hell at the time. So take a friend of the opposite sex or a relative you feel comfortable with. But by the same token, I think there are more social events during the holidays. So if it's not work-related or relative intense, I would take a chance on a blind date or a first date, as long as you had a parachute ready. You had an excuse that was going to get you off the date at the first hint that it might be a date from home.
Makes sense. Okay, we're going to talk to you some more, but I want to go to our next two guests, all right? These are two survivors of unbelievably bad dates, Karen Kelleher and Joan Sieh. And I'm nice to have both of you on.
Thank you.
And let's start with Joan, okay? What happened to you?
Oh, Joan, it was a nightmare. A friend of mine from law school introduced me to a girl. It was a blind date setup. We were going to a jazz festival. First 15 minutes, she invites me to go away with her on a weekend trip.
Okay.
I thought she was putting me on, but this is New York City. People here do things fast.
Yeah, all right.
So, we meet one more time at the friend's house, have dinner there, and away we go the following weekend for this trip. Disaster from the beginning. She wanted to fight with me all the time. She was very upset. She was talking about her questioning her sexuality. I told her it's none of my business.
Right.
We were going to Nantucket. It's an island off of Massachusetts.
Right.
I wanted to get off the island the moment we got there because she went crazy on me. She was psycho, and all she wanted me for was, well, sex. Yes.
All right, all right.
And not to be proud of it, but that's what she wanted, and we went to war. Because I didn't want it. I thought, I don't want a commitment with this woman. I'm going to pay for everything my way. She wanted to pay for the whole trip. I was studying law full time then. And, well, I paid my part. But the trip was a disaster. I got back to New York. I told her, I don't want to see you again. I tried to escape from the island. I couldn't. But we got back to New York. I survived.
And?
In any case, in New York, she starts following me everywhere. She's stalking me. She's going to my school. She's going to my place of work. I was working for a judge then. She was coming to my house. And finally, I unplugged my phone. She was calling me and calling me and calling me. So I said to her, don't call me anymore, please. Finally, I unplugged my phone, and I replugged it one day. First call, it was her. She said, if you don't see me by tomorrow, I'll sue you.
Sue you?
Yeah, I thought, well, I'm studying law. She can't sue me for anything. So I said, go ahead, try it. I hung up. Guess what?
She sued you?
I got sued. 4 days later, I got a summons from the court.
What did she sue you about?
Well, it came down to this. She basically said that I was being sued for being a bad date. And she was suing me for 1/2 the value of the date.
And she took it to court?
Yes, I thought, this is so frivolous, it's so crazy, this could never happen in America, but it can happen in America. And it happened here in New York City, yes.
And?
We went through 2 court levels. We went to hearings 6 times. We spent about $10,000 of taxpayers' money, and I lost.
You lost?
And I appealed it, and I lost again. The judges would stay the order.
So what did you have to end up paying?
Well, I had to pay $161.46 to her to please her, I guess, and then I spent a fortune, over $1,000 in litigation fees, and I told you what the taxpayers paid. Plus, a judge, on top of this, was a woman who got emotionally involved in the whole thing, and she said to the paper right afterwards, which really irked me because I wouldn't date her either, that I was too rigid, and she wouldn't date me. Judges are not supposed to say this. They're supposed to be unbiased.
Now, let's go in the middle. Karen, my darling, this leaves you. What about a lousy blind date with you?
Well, it wasn't a blind date. It was my 3rd date, actually.
3rd date, okay.
Yes.
So the first 2 dates, very nice.
Yeah, they were wonderful. And the 3rd date, we go up to a country house, and we have this romantic dinner, and all of a sudden there's a banging on the door. And he gets panicked, and he's like, you have to hide in the bedroom. And I'm like, well, why do I have to hide? And he goes, well, it's my ex-girlfriend, and she's a beast. And I'm like, okay, so I hide in the bedroom, and she comes in and starts going through all the rooms in the house saying, well, I know there's another woman in here, and da-da-da-da. And so they finally start heading towards the bedroom, and I see that there's a window, so I climb out the window. I'm like, I don't want any confrontations. And I get out the window, and they go in there, and there's nobody there, obviously. So I walk down the street and use the payphone, and I call him up, and I said, well, you know, what's going on here? He goes, oh, you have the wrong number. So I call him again.
Which means she's there.
Right, exactly. He goes, I call again, and he says, you still have the wrong number. So I walk back to the house, and I figure, well, I'll climb back in the window. And I go back to the window, and they're in bed together. And I'm like, well, I'm glad it's her, not me. And I decide, well, there's nothing else I can do. My coat, my bag are both in the house, so I go around to the garage and I go into his car, and I slept in the back of the car. And the next morning I heard her car leave, so I go up to the door and I'm like, I gave him hell, and I said, well, you're driving me home now. And he goes, well, you know, I had a really bad night. I'd like to take a nap first. And I'm like, like, no, you're taking me home. And he took me home.
And you never saw him again?
No, I did not want to see him again.
Okay, well, disasters, but funny once you get over them, right? We'll be back with more dating disaster stories, including 3 people who are all on dates ruined by someone tossing their cookies. Can you imagine? Oh. Stay with us.
Joan, I got a great story to tell you, a date from hell. I took this nice young lady to a restaurant, French restaurant, real posh, real elegant. She's drinking tequila from the start. I really didn't realize it at the time. So we're eating dinner, and she's still drinking tequila, and the next thing I know, she throws up all over the whole table. And I don't mean just little. I mean, she throws up over the whole table. I was totally embarrassed. It was probably the worst day of my life. They threw us out of the restaurant, and I had to pick up the bill. My date from hell.
For free tickets, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Tickets, The Joan Rivers Show, Columbus Circle Station, P.O. Box 20701, New York, New York, 10023, or call 212-975-5757.
I met a girl at a dance bar, and she gave me her number, and I had given her a call, and we set up a date for the following week, and I went to pick her up, and we went to a restaurant, sat down, had a very romantic dinner, noticed that her hair was very nice, big blue eyes, nice body, and at a very, very long, intimate dinner, decided to go to the same dance bar that we had met at later on at about midnight. We're dancing along, and someone whispered in my ear that, hey, do you realize you're dancing with a guy? And I sort of was astounded, and I went back and started physically looking at her, and I noticed her hands were as big as mine, and looked down and her feet were as big as mine, and the guys over on the side were sort of laughing and looking at me, so I finally, just out of spare reaction, I reached down and grabbed her right in the crotch and found something a little more than I expected, a little more hardware. I said, I've got to get out of here. And I bolted for the door.
We are back. We are talking about dates from hell, and join us now are 3 more survivors of nightmare dates. First is Daryl Edelman, next to him is Susan Woolhandler, and then Karl Wilder. And these people are totally unrelated, but their horror stories have one common thread: vomit. All right? Also staying with us, of course, is Katherine Samon, who's the author of Dates from Hell. Okay, do you want to start, Daryl? Tell us about this horrible date.
Sure. It was the second date that I'd had with this woman, and I had just inherited a lot of money, so we thought we'd paint the town red, go crazy. So we go down to this bar in the Lower East Side, and we hear that Geraldo's taping downstairs, something about New Yorkers going crazy. Go downstairs. There's a hot tub. People are taking their clothes off, dancing like mad. Somebody grabs my date. She goes into the water.
Clothed?
Clothed. Well, clothed for the moment. Then somehow her shirt goes off, and I try to pull her out, and she throws up into the hot tub. And that kind of broke the ice. So
yeah.
I gave her my jacket, and we still wanted to continue the date because we were having so much fun. And we went to the water club, and then we went on a helicopter ride, and that was very romantic, and we saw the night lights, and I gave her a few Pepto-Bismols because she was getting airsick. And then we went back down to the Lower East Side, and by now we were fairly intoxicated, and money was coming out from all of my pockets, and she said, "Look, Daryl, skinheads," and I said, "Punks with guitars." and they started to beat us up. And we crawled into a cab all bloody. And
bloody?
Bloody. And we went to a hospital. And during our convalescence, we fell in love.
And are you still dating?
No, we were dating for about a year and a half.
All right, so it became a real thing. Oh, that's not bad. Susan?
Yes?
Let's hear.
Well, I grew up in a little town in Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana, and I was going to high school, and I finally got a date with that dreamboat senior, you know, 6'2", this gorgeous guy. Took me to the big high school dance. Irma Thomas was playing, and of course, like most dates, he was just trying to get me to go out in the car and drink and, you know, let him fill me up. But I hung out at the dance most of the time, and finally, you know, I just felt like a queen because he was such a great guy, and, you know, I was so impressed with myself. And finally, as we were leaving the dance, he opened the door for me like all Southern gentlemen and said, "After you," and then proceeded to throw up right on my head. And he was so drunk that, of course, that meant that I looked like this, and I had to drive home because he was so drunk, as well as the other people we had double dated with, that I was the only one that could drive. So I drove the car home. I took him to his house, and I threw him in the ditch in front of his house. I was so aggravated, and the rest of his worthless friends. And then I took the car home to my house. And, of course, when my father got up the next day, he was pretty irritated and didn't quite believe my story. And he was really not that impressed with all the common sense that I had used in driving home.
Well, obviously, did you see the guy again?
Oh, yes, we went on to have a warm and loving relationship. I don't even remember this guy's name. I mean, I blocked it until I saw the, you know, ad for the show.
Now, what about you, Carl?
Okay. I met a wonderful woman at a party in San Francisco who was moving to San Francisco. We made a date for 2 weeks later. So she was driving up, getting an apartment, doing all that. In the meantime, a very good friend of mine, a teacher, died. And the night of the date was the funeral, and I had no way to reach her because she was in a U-Haul somewhere between. When she showed up, I told her the story. I said, "I've got to go to a funeral." She was wonderful. She looked like Lucy Arnaz, gorgeous woman. And she said, "I'll go to the funeral with you. We'll go out, we'll have dinner first, and then we'll go to a movie after." Kind of a strange date.
What's a date?
We did 3 courses, $24.95, you know, in 45 minutes. Don't have the fish. And then we went to the funeral where I was supposed to speak. It was an open casket. So we went up, she went up with me, and I'm standing by the casket when Mrs. Johnson's left eye popped open. And there's a bit of wire hanging there. When people die, their eyes are not pretty. They're kind of yellow and recessed. It made me sick. I threw up on the deceased. And, yeah. Well, it's worse. Really don't have the fish. She swung me around, and I hit most of the mourners in the front row. Flattering shoes and black dresses. Thank God they wear black at funerals, you know? And all of these little men in dark suits come running from everywhere. Somebody picked me up and carried me out of there. It was really scary because he had like a box of toothbrushes. What are those doing in a funeral home? Why? What? Anyway, so while I was cleaning up, the mortician made a pass at me in the restroom, and I went back out and didn't speak. I sat in the back, and she's gone. I never heard from her again.
Never heard from her again?
No. And she was so cute. She looked just like Lucy Arnaz.
Well, I think, boy, we all go through it, don't we? You're married now.
Yes.
All right, so
3-year-old.
3 years of life. You married a 3-year-old?
No, I have a 3-year-old. She threw up on the Christmas tree last night.
That's all right. She wasn't on a date. Coming up, the woman who went looking for love on 3 different television dating shows. Oh, yeah, what happens to them? And also we'll meet a lady who started a telephone service with women who are just dating jerks and want to talk about it. Stay with us.
Okay, well, the worst date that I ever had in my life was when I was growing up, and had a date with the most beautiful woman in the world that I thought in high school. And the only problem was I didn't have a car, so we stole her mom's car. And unfortunately, we were turning a corner. She wanted me to go faster and faster, and I crashed right into a dump truck. The only problem was the cops came and introduced me to her father by bringing me up to their doorstep, knocking on the door, and saying, "Do you know this man?"
We're back. Talking about dating disasters, and sitting next to me now is a woman who is looking for love and tried to find it on different television game shows. Please welcome Michele Seipp. Now, what game shows?
Well, there's just those variety of dating shows that everybody knows. They're very popular. They're sort of brutal. And about a year ago, I was on this phase where I was dating some very sexy but flaky artists, like sculptors and painters and people who would call you at 2 in the morning or say they couldn't go out with you that night because they didn't have any seeds, was my favorite excuse.
Seeds, right, all right.
But so I thought, well, TV's stable. Maybe, and I started watching these shows obsessively every night, and I thought, maybe if I step into the frames and become a contestant, I'll find stability and love. So I auditioned for all of them, and 2 of them turned me down, and they make you stand up in front of the room, and they would say to the men, do you think she's cute? And everybody would say, she's okay, but I don't like short hair. And so I realized I was being discriminated against as a small hair, and I wanted to fight for rights for small hairs, and it was because everybody had big blonde hair and beige pumps, and I just realized I don't belong in this world either.
Right.
Where do I belong?
So you finally got on.
I finally got on one show.
What happened?
Well, there were 2 other girls, and they had big hair. However, I won.
You won?
Because I knew more of the answers. But the very handsome guy who I supposedly won the date with, who's a very nice person, but I don't think we were each other's types, because after the show was over, it was up to you to pursue the date, up to the 2 contestants, and he ran up to the 2 big-haired girls and said, here's my phone number. And I stood awkwardly feeling, once again, I'm a small hair all alone in the world.
And so nothing happened out of it?
No, well, I won a sushi dinner, and I went out with my friends and had a good sushi dinner.
Now, you wrote an article about that for
for Buzz Magazine.
Yeah, which is very, very funny.
Oh, thank you.
Now, what about you, Karen?
Well, I had a real interesting date. I went out with this gentleman who I'd met in a club, and we went out to dinner one evening, and we were sitting there having cocktails, and he started very earnestly in the date, sort of explaining to me how he had been searching for someone like me, that he needed someone who was strong, that could take control, and that would. He really wanted to take care of me and could do everything for me. And I became sort of anxious as we were sitting through this date. And then all of a sudden he said, dominatrix. And I went, huh? Okay, fine. All right, let's talk a little bit here. And then I started becoming a little bit more uncomfortable. The restaurant we were in, I knew a lot of the people. I knew the waiter and the bartender and things like that. And they noticed that I was uncomfortable. They kept coming by, are you okay? I'm fine. And finally, this guy, he just kept pursuing it. I like to take care of you. I can take care of your feet especially. I'm very good at taking care of feet. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but you know, I realized I made other plans with friends. I got to go. And he fell down between the tables on his knees and started kissing my feet. And
what were you wearing?
Open-toe shoes, you know? I mean, and so it's like standing there, and I'm like, I stood up and I said, you know, this is really wrong. And I sort of kicked at him, you know, like, don't do that. And he went, yes, yes, mistress. And he screamed it out in the middle of it. I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm trying to walk out of the restaurant. All my friends are standing there staring at me. Everyone in the restaurant is looking at us. And he's like attached to my foot, begging me to please hurt him some more.
Did you ever see him again?
No, I have not ever seen him again.
Now we're going to bring on another woman, okay? For women like you two and like so many of us who are tired of dating jerks, my next guest should get a call from you. She is the creator of a phone service called the Jerkline. She's also written a book called Maybe He's Just a Jerk, okay? Please welcome Carol Rosen. Tell me, what is the Jerkline?
The Jerkline. The Jerkline is where you can call after you've had a date from hell. The Jerkline is where everyone called and contributed their stories. And some of the stories you won't believe.
And do they get solace, or you just go, that's right, he's a jerk?
Basically, people call to get it off their chest.
Right.
For example, the lady who called me and said, you will not believe what my soon-to-be ex-husband did. And I said, okay, what do you do? He calls me, and he says, you know, I need to talk to you about something. This is after he moved in with his mistress. I said, what'd you say? Did you hang up? She goes, no, he said it was very important. And he said to her, we need to swap beds.
We need to swap beds.
We need to swap beds because my mistress only has a twin size here, and, you know, we have the king-size bed at home, and my mistress and I were crowded.
That's a jerk.
That's a jerk.
That's a jerk. Give me another jerk.
Okay.
Give me another jerk story.
I mean, see, it
Mama's
goes,
boy.
Mama's boy. This is the vacation from hell with the Mama's boy and the Mama from hell.
And the Mama went too.
Yes. What happened was a nice camping trip was planned by a couple until Mama flew in from the West Coast. Suddenly their plans were changed and ended up in Death Valley. To top it all off, I mean, Death Valley, and this was in the
place
summer.
in America.
Scorpions live there.
Yeah.
I'd be afraid of finding a scorpion in the mattress.
Yeah.
I won't go there. But anyway, they go there, and to top it all off, Mama's sharing their hotel room.
Okay.
And so she says to the guy, "What is going on here? I'm paying for this. You've got your mother with what she's doing in it. What is she doing in our hotel room?" And he said, "This isn't our vacation. This is mine and my mom's vacation, and you were lucky to be invited to come with." She jumped in, but Joan, guess how old this man was? Just guess. 40.
That's why he was 40 and single.
They never cut. I think he's going to stay single because I think there's the cord is still attached. They made a mistake when he was born and forgot to cut the cord.
You have one more story. Good story on a Filipino.
The Philippine story is a man who was in the Philippines. He was in the service, and his girlfriend found out he's cheating. So she breaks up with him, and he writes her a letter, and he says, "Look, I was with a lot of other women. That's true. But you know, when they were in my arms, I thought about you. I pretended it was you. They even looked like you. I even called out your name when we made love. So for all practical purposes, I was making love to you."
All right. That's a jerk.
It didn't fly.
Do you give them advice? Do you say to them, "Don't see these jerks anymore"? What do you say to them?
Basically, first I listen, and I'll go, "Thank you for letting me get it off my chest. I've dumped the jerk already." For the ones that really need help, I'll sit there and say, "Okay, sounds like you need to talk to a counselor," and I'll send them off to like a social services agency if it's something really severe. If it's not, I'll just say, "Yes, you're right. This person doesn't sound too good. I think you should check out other alternatives."
What about, you're single. Are you looking for Mr. Right?
Well, I've got a nice boyfriend now, and I'm happy, but I was with a jerk. I mean, what else would inspire you to write a book about jerks but jerks?
What about you? Are you looking for Mr. Right?
Yeah.
Still looking. What about you? Are you looking for Mr. Right?
No, I found Ms. Right. I was in the process of coming out at the time when I dated this man, and I'm a lesbian, and I'm happily married.
All right. But to another woman?
Yes, to a woman.
You're not looking for Mr. Right at all?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
And your date changed your life.
Exactly.
When we come back, we're going to hear from we're going to have the Date from Hell contest, when 5 of our viewers compete to see who had the worst date ever, and then we're going to like you all to vote to figure out, okay? So stay tuned. For 5 more viewers, people just like you, will bare their souls and share the most embarrassing stories as they compete to see who had the ultimate date from hell. They each have 45 seconds or less to tell their story and gain the sympathy of our judges, Kathy, Michele, and Carol. And then the winner will be sent on a date to New York's traditionally French bistro, the Brasserie. Okay? Ready? Start with the 45 seconds. Say your name and tell us your story. Go.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I had the date from hell. I was asked by this guy to go to lunch with him on his boat, and I said, "Great, that sounds like a great idea." And so he picks me up at this dock, and it turns out it's not a sailboat, it's not a yacht. It's a tugboat.
A tugboat.
A tugboat.
What was in the tugboat?
His crew, and they were leering at me all during the time I was on there. And I noticed the smell, and I'm wondering, what is this smell? It's not the fried bologna that the cook's cooking up. So I asked him,
What was it?
What was it?
What was it?
Garbage.
Just made it. Okay. Okay, you were on a garbage boat. You went on a date in a garbage boat. Next name.
Hi, my name is Serena, and I have the date from hell.
Okay, let's hear it, Serena.
I was stood up on one date when a second gentleman called me up and asked me to meet him at the corner of 14th and 7th for dinner. Nothing if not hopeful, I went. I waited and waited and waited, and he didn't appear. While I was there, a tomato vendor came over and asked me to watch his tomato cart for him. He said, "You look like you'll be here for a while." I watched the tomato cart, and a woman came over and asked me to sell her tomatoes. I did, and a policeman came over and arrested me for selling tomatoes without a license.
Thank you. Okay. Next, tell us your name. Now, this may be a little short for you. Here. Stand up. There we go. Okay, that'll do it just fine. Go ahead.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Jay. I have the ultimate date from hell.
Keep telling us, Jay.
I went to the Philadelphia ball. My date and I had a terrible time. She had a great time. She decided to stay. I decided to leave. So I went back to the train station, Philadelphia, and I found out at 2:30 in the morning I just missed my last train to New York, so I had to sit and wait until 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm sitting there with my tuxedo on, with all my luggage for Christmas vacation, and I decided to stay awake and I fall asleep. So I then get awoke by a homeless woman because a homeless man had just taken all of my luggage with my wallet inside out of the station. So I go running to the police. I say, "He's taken my luggage. Where is he?" They find my luggage, and I get back on the train, and I do make Christmas with my family. That's my ultimate date. I never heard from her again.
All right.
Thank you.
Good story. Good story. Next.
My name is Alan. My ultimate date from hell happened a couple of years ago. I was in a singles bar, and I met this very attractive girl at about 2 o'clock in the morning. Of course, teeth and a pulse at that hour would have been okay. And we wound up going back. We were dancing for a while. We went back to her apartment. Things were going nicely. We're touchy-feely. Things are going wonderful. The next thing I know, I hit the crotch, and I got the surprise of my life. It was a guy.
All right. Let's move this down for you because you're my size, okay? And tell us your name.
Hi, my name is Diana, and I have the ultimate date from hell. I met my future husband through my ex-boyfriend, and when I first met him, he said, "Hi, my name is Terrence," and he proceeded to vomit on my shoes. And a week later, he asked me out on a date, and a week later after that, we ended up getting to know each other, and he says to me, "Would you like to get married?" I said, "Yes." But the first date we have, it's like I was completely sunburned from head to toe, so every time he tried to touch me, I was like cringing with pain. But we are married 6 years now. We have 3 beautiful children, and I'm expecting another one. I found out today.
But actually, they all work out.
My 4th.
Okay. That's 5. Let's just go over this again. He threw up on your shoes. Was it he? You were robbed by the homeless man. You were thrown in jail, and you were fed garbage. Okay? Now, to find out who is the lucky winner of the date from hell, we will be back. Are you ready, judges?
Yes.
We're going to decide during this commercial. We'll be back to announce the winner of our ultimate date from hell contest. I can't wait. Before we announce the winner of our ultimate date from hell contest, who will then be eating at the Brasserie restaurant, we're going to review the stories. Susan was a garbage barge date. Serena was a tomato cart date that ended up going to jail. J.D. went to the Christmas ball from hell, okay? Al's date turned out to be a transvestite, but Al was thinking about it anyhow. And Diana married the man who vomited all over her. Okay. Now, we went to our judges, Kathy, Michele, and Carol, and they debated. They thought you all had truly an ultimate date from hell. However, the winner is Serena. Serena wins. Congratulations, Serena. Congratulations to all of you. You all went through hell, but Serena went through bigger hell. And when we come back, we're going to find out who else has been nominated for the Rick Dees first annual Bonehead Award. So enough with dates, back to Boneheads. Thank you, ladies. What a fun show. Thank you all so much. Some of our guests stay at the beautiful Plaza Hotel overlooking Central Park.